My name is Purge and I approve the content in this video.
Hey guys, this is SunsFan and welcome to the official Dota Cinema Guide to Enigma. If you aren't familiar with this hero, you may want to watch the introduction we did for him at the corresponding link. Enigma is an intelligence hero who's generally known for having a very powerful teamfight presence, but is also great for both pushing and ganking. He excels in the jungle but can also be put in side lane solo situations. Since this build will be based on jungling, we're going to start with demonic conversions at level 1 and will proceed to max it by 7. Maxing this first will strengthen your summons to a high degree, which means you'll be able to farm much faster as well as be able to push earlier. Malefice is a great skill, but you won't truly get the full effect until level 4, which would mean sacrificing a lot of farm with lower level demonic conversions. Because of this, you max Malefice second, finishing it at 9. Be sure to get your all-powerful ultimate at the standard 6, 11, and 16. In some very rare cases, players can choose to keep Black Hole at level 1 because the only thing you really gain from leveling it is the damage increase, which typically isn't the point of your spell anyway. Having 10 seconds less of your cooldown per level is nice, but if your team is doing sufficient damage when your ult goes off, then the extra 100 mana cost per level won't be worth it. Despite this logic, we're still going to recommend maxing it by 16 just to be safe. This means maxing Midnight Pulse last. We'll talk about this skill more in depth soon. Starting items for Enigma is going to be quite different than with other heroes. You want to start with 2 clarities since all you'll be doing in the jungle is casting spells and hopefully not taking any damage. Because you really don't need anything until your Soul Ring, be sure to buy the Courier for the team and a Sage's Mask with the extra gold you have left. If someone else is getting the Courier, then go ahead and purchase the other all-important team item, Wards. Now I have to mention that the first thing you want to do when you get enough gold is to courier yourself another clarity or 2. Then you should have enough to be able to get a Soul Ring. Generally speaking, you don't want to get Ring of Basilius, which is more of an older build. Soul Ring will fit all your mana needs. The Armor Aura is nice, but as long as you're microing your Eidolons correctly, the neutral shouldn't be too big of a threat. If you plan to be pushing aggressively and very early, then you may want to think about including this in your build. Boots of choice are, believe it or not, regular boots for your foreseeable future. Sometimes players even skip the boots altogether and rush core items. Arcane boots are nice and you could even get them a little later, but until you have more core items in place, the Soul Ring will do you just fine. Speaking of core items, for the early and mid stage of the game, you want to build a mechanism. This will give you a great deal of tankiness throughout the game and will aid in your pushes. Then we get to the 2 items that you would expect on any Enigma, and that of course is the BKB and Blink Dagger. Certain situations will call for both of these items, while others may only need one. The BKB is obviously terrific since your ultimate is channeling, and the Blink is great for those surprise attacks where you can catch multiple people in your black hole. Since that's all Enigma technically needs, everything else can be chalked up to either luxury or situational. At this point you can finally upgrade your boots, which since it's going to be late game in all likelihood, just make treads for tankiness or boots of travel for awesomeness. A Scythe of Ice is also great to add an additional disable to your team. A Shiva's would be nice for added punch to your initiation, while even a Refresher can be picked up to enable you to have great back-to-back black holes. Past this, certain items such as Yules, Necronomicon, Force Staff, or even Ghost Scepter can be purchased depending on what your game needs. Starting the game, it's important to convert a creep at the very first wave whichever lane needs it more. The side solo may need the lane to get pushed back a little bit, or mid lane might just want to give the opposing mid less experience. Because jungle creeps don't spawn until 30 seconds, you'll have plenty of time to get back to the fountain and refresh your mana. As with pretty much any other jungler, make sure to start with the small camps in the beginning. Don't fight the bigger camps until later. Also be sure to micro your low HP Eidolons before they die, or your farm will be slowed significantly. It's not the most difficult of tasks, but still may require some practice to become adept. Once you've hit level 4, you can gank the adjacent lane if it's pushed up. Obviously you'll want to layer your stuns as best as possible, and if the gank is successful, you can try applying some pressure to their tier 1 tower. If they gather any kind of defense, then just fall back and continue jungling. The Soul Ring that you'll have at this point will allow you to just AFK farm if need be, but try to be a cuddly teammate and gank every once in a while. But one thing to remember is that even though the cooldown of Black Hole is really long, do not be hesitant to use it in the early game on single heroes. A guaranteed kill is almost always worth it. A quick note about Malefice is that it will stun once at level 1, twice at both levels 2 and 3, and 3 times at level 4. But the skill we didn't really touch on is Midnight Pulse, which is kind of the forgotten spell in the arsenal of an Enigma. This doesn't mean it's a weak skill. In fact, it can be quite powerful. The problem is the way you play as Enigma a lot of times will not afford you the time to even cast it in important situations. The synergy though makes perfect sense. You place down a Midnight Pulse, which by the way deals universal damage, which means it goes through BKB, and once you've placed it, you can black hole 5 enemies on top of it, dealing insane damage. The problem is that getting a game-breaking black hole is so difficult that you'll only have a few split seconds to react to a potential opportunity. This is why Midnight Pulse is forgotten. If you can guarantee its usage before a good black hole, then by all means enjoy. But generally you'll probably use it after the black hole is over to do some residual damage to an enemy being stunned by Malefice. Friends of Enigma are too many to list, but to give a little generality, any teamfight hero would love to be teamed up with someone like Enigma. A small list would include Sand King with his Epicenter, Ancient Apparition and his Ice Blast, Quap with Sonic Wave, Keeper of the Light with Illuminate, and my personal favorite combo, Lich with Chain Frost. For Enigma's enemies, we'll stick with 2 groups. The first group are heroes that will disrupt any jungler, and I would guess no introductions needed for them as it's Chen and Enchantress, both of whom can excel in the enemy jungle. Group number 2 are heroes who can disable Enigma's ult through BKB. Examples of this include Vengeful Spirit's Swap, Beastmaster's Roar, and Silencer's Global Silence. One special mention must go out to the neutral Dark Troll Warlord, whose Ensnare will go through BKB as well, meaning technically there's always a counter to a BKB'd Enigma. Thanks for watching, and please remember to subscribe to our YouTube. Also a big thanks to Flawless and Purge for their help in writing this guide. You can check out their awesome channels in the video description. Also be sure to visit our website at dotacinema.com and visit our Facebook at facebook.com/dotacinema.